All right, today we're tackling a massive challenge facing pretty much every manufacturing leader out there. How in the world do you get into advanced automated sewing when your team is basically starting from scratch? One wrong move here can set you back years, but if you get this right, oh man, you can leapfrog your competition.
So here's the pickle you're in. You know automation is the future, but your engineers, as smart as they are walking into a world that's all about hands-on, hard-won experience. So what do? Do you risk the time and money on a massive internal learning curve, or do you bring in the expensive outside experts? This isn't just about one project, This is a huge strategic decision that's going to shape your company's future. Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase. I'm not going to make you wait for the answer. The best way to do this is not an either-or situation, it is a strategic blend of both. We're talking about a hybrid model, and in the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly why this is the secret sauce for getting it done right.
Now, to really get why this hybrid approach is so powerful, we first have to tear down the two most common ways companies try to do this and fail. It's actually kind of wild how the most common sense choices can lead you straight into a wall of expensive mistakes.
So let's talk about the first big pitfall. This is the one that sounds so good in the planning meeting, right? The thinking is, hey, let's just let our own awesome team handle it. We'll save a ton on consultant fees, and we'll build talent in-house. It sounds totally reasonable, but it's built on a massive misunderstanding of what this work actually requires.
And here's the heart of the problem. You've got to understand the difference between learnable skills and experience-based capability. Look, anyone can learn to use a piece of software or read a manual. Those are skills. But predicting how a piece of stretchy fabric is going to deform under pressure, or understanding the logic of garment structure to control tension, that's a whole different ballgame. That's capability. And it only comes from years of trial and error. Lots and lots of error.
And these are the consequences that don't show up on the initial budget. We're talking about endless revisions, which means piles of wasted material. We're talking about blown timelines, which means lost production. And maybe worst of all, you get incredibly talented engineers who get so frustrated they just quit. These hidden costs add up so fast they can totally eclipse what you would have paid an expert from the get-go.
But the damage isn't just about money, not even close. A big, spectacular failure on a major automation project can completely poison the well. Management loses faith, the budget dries up, and your whole automation initiative can get put on ice for 3, 4, even 5 years. Just think about how far behind your competitors you'll be by then. The stakes are just incredibly high.
So if going it alone is a trap, what about the exact opposite? The second flawed approach, just outsource the whole shebang. And the first thing everybody worries about here is intellectual property, right? What about our trade secrets? But focusing on that actually blinds you to a much, much bigger risk.
Listen, the real danger isn't that an outsider is going to see your process. The real danger is that your own team learns absolutely nothing. So yeah, you get a working solution for today, but what happens next year when you want to automate another product? You're right back at square one, writing another huge check. You create this cycle of dependency where you never ever build your own internal expertise. Okay, so if the do-it-yourself model and the outsource-it-all model are both flawed, what's the right answer? Well, this is where the smart hybrid model comes in. This is how you get the best of both worlds. You get the speed and the deep expertise of an external partner, but it's combined with a laser focus on building up your own team's capability for the long haul.
The whole idea here is really simple. You're not just hiring a contractor, you are hiring a mentor. The external expert is the lead designer. They're in charge. But your internal engineer is right there beside them as the shadow designer. They're in every meeting, part of every test, asking why. You're not just buying a machine, you're investing in a top-tier apprenticeship for your team.
Now, for this to actually work, the roles have to be crystal clear. The external expert leads the design, makes the tough calls, and assesses the risks. Your internal engineer's job is to be a sponge, to participate, to document, to validate, and to learn everything they can so they can handle it next time. And your company? Your job is to set the finish line. You define the quality standards and what success looks like.
And here's a critical piece of advice. This has to be in the contract. You need to make it clear that you are buying the expert's entire methodology, not just the final result. You're paying for the why, not just the what. This is how you turn a one-time expense into a permanent, long-term asset for your entire company.
So let's go back to that fear about losing your trade secrets for a second. It's really important to keep this risk in perspective. What an outsider sees is just a tiny slice of your world, one product, part of one process. What they don't see is your entire ecosystem, your supply chain strategy, your business plans. Your true competitive advantage is never just in one stitch, it's in your entire business system, and that remains completely protected. So, here it is. This is the decision matrix you can take straight to the boardroom. This really sums up the whole argument. When you look at all the things that really matter, speed, the true overall cost, your odds of success, and especially building capability for the future, the smart hybrid model is just the clear winner, right across the board. It's not even close.
So what does all this mean for your strategy? Let's boil this entire thing down to one last crucial memo for the boardroom.
And here it is. This is the ultimate takeaway. In a complex field like automation, your biggest expense is always going to be your mistakes. So the smartest investment you can possibly make is using external, mature experience to build up your own internal, long-term capability. This approach doesn't just solve today's problem, it empowers your team to handle all of tomorrow's challenges. It's how you turn a short-term cost into a long-term investment in your company's future.